And welcome back to this 12th edition of BioVision Forum with 1,200 attendees and more than 150 speakers and experts who are talking with all the attendees here. You can see all around me, but you can hear some noise, and a lot of noises actually. But next to me, I have a brilliant professor from the I3H University, which is the University Libre de Belgique de Bruxelles, which is in Belgium. His name is Michel Goldman. Hi, good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
You are here in BioVision. How important for you is to be here today in Lyon?
For me, it's very important at the time where we are launching new activities, especially new education and training program to prepare a new generation of stakeholders in the healthcare sector. So this is really the ideal place, the ideal forum to sensitize, the different stakeholders to the importance of education if we want to move precision medicine forward.
But what is this training education? What is the global medical education today?
Yeah, what we are implementing is a program in which we bring together students and professionals from different sectors, from different worlds, public, private, physicians, economists, lawyers, so that we educate them about, the collaboration mindset, the interdisciplinary, which will be key to indeed implement new ways to organize healthcare.
So this is the kind of BioVision concept of the one place and one health,
exactly.
Bringing all together as a whole to work together. How are you sure that this will be succeeding for you? This will be this will have a result for your students?
Yeah, I think that's the important question. How will we measure the success? It's true for our program. It's true for all the new programs that we discussed yesterday with scientists from China, from Canada, from Africa. And we all agree that indeed we have to change the way we educate healthcare professionals, but also that at the same time we have to define quite precisely the indicators that we will use to demonstrate that this is successful. And we think that one of the most important indicators is the level of satisfaction of the patients, of those who are really in need of new ways to receive care and innovative ways to indeed deal with, major threats to healthcare, such as cancer, such as antimicrobial resistant dementia, and so on. So we think that at the end of the day, patients will tell us whether indeed we succeed in, providing them with a new type of professionals, much more able to develop those so-called patient-centric approaches.
Brussels is kind of the center of the world, so you have to work with other continents. You were talking about your Chinese collaborators, the academics, the experts who are here in BioVision in this 12th edition. How important is for you to build those bridges, actually?
Well, this is essential because, we are dealing with common issues all over the world. At the same time, the healthcare systems, the cultures are very different. But still, the diseases are the same, whether you are in a rich region of the United States or if you are living in Bangladesh or another, low-income country. And this is one key aspect of our discussion. How do you make sure that patients and citizens have access to the new treatments they need? And that's why we include economical and cultural consideration in our discussion and in our training programs.
The access of the needs and of the passions that we were talking about, is it only academic, economic, and students, or is it also politic?
No, obviously politics and, policy in general is at the center because, we can come with brilliant ideas, we can train, the best people. At the end of the day, we must be sure that makers will indeed facilitate the new type of organization which is needed, in different places to move forward. So indeed, I think that BioVision is also an interesting place because we have many policymakers around, people from the political world, people from the European Commission, for example, and I think that's very important here to bring together, different stakeholders and different people who are key on, implementing, recommendation that could come out of our sessions.
And your students realize this need, or that you have to mix up all these sectors, the academician, experts, economics and policies?
Well, I hope so, and from the success of our first courses, I mean, especially the young people, they are very excited about these new ways to consider and to approach healthcare questions. So I'm very much convinced that, young students, young people, have to be trained in order to prepare the future. At the end of the day, they will be responsible for making all this happening
in this global medicine. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Professor Michel Goldman, from the I38 Université Libre de Brussels in Belgium. And we'll catch you in the hashtag of BioVision, but also during all these 2 days of the 12th edition of BioVision Forum. Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
You.
And now, next guest. Thank you. We have a next guest here that maybe you saw in the this first edition of the first session was yesterday night. It was the opening of this 12th edition of the BioVision Forum. Hello, Ali Mobasheri. You should take a microphone to hear me. Thank you. Good afternoon. We're very glad to have you here. You're a professor of musculoskeletal physiology, Associate Dean for Research and Enterprise in the Faculty of Health and Medicine Science, and the head of Department of Veterinary Preclinical Science of University of Surrey. It's a huge title, huh?
I'm pleased to say I've stepped down from the Associate Dean role. I've done my 2 years and
this is done.
Yes,
okay,
that's
good.
done. I'm still head of department, but basically I'm going to focus much more on my research now.
Yeah, the people who were here, and we're following us in the hashtag of BioVision in this 12th edition of BioVision Forum, we saw yesterday a very interesting debate about this problematic, which is one health, one place. And you covered, of course, many things and many topics. And as we were talking now with the professor of the University of Belgium, people need to understand that animal health, human health,
Of course.
are the same.
Sure.
How can you explain it and give us some examples?
So we live in the same environment, we live on the same planet, we share the same ecosystems. Importantly, we breathe the same air, drink the same water, and eat the same foods. So there was just a session on healthy aging, and the ERC grantees were talking about their work on healthy aging and the studies that they do on human brains. But actually, they could do the same studies on pets. They can do the same studies on dogs because actually they live in the same environment, drink the same water, breathe the same air. So they're exposed to the same toxins, to the same carcinogens, to the same dusts that can cause lung disease, to the same materials that
Pollution,
might cause
yes.
exactly the pollutants. So we have a lot to share in, with the animals in which exist in our environment. So One Health is the health of humans, animals, whether they are wild animals or companion animals, domesticated animals, or plants, because we all share the same ecosystems.
But do most of the people realize that, climate change, this One Health problematic, that we are all together, or still they don't care?
I think many people realize that, but they need regular reminders that it's important for us to look after the environment because that environment will then look after us. I think that's an opportunity for us to educate the younger people and get the young people, the future generations, to care more about the environment. We've done a lot of damage to the environment. Our parents, grandparents, and before that, there's been a lot of damage done to the environment. Now it's time to recognize that, accept it, and begin to put some interventions to try and reverse some of the damage. Some of the damage is clearly irreversible, but there are things we can do to stop.
How to start?
influencing
Where?
young minds and obviously communicating this to the politicians. And of course, trying to make them realize that they will have many more challenges and problems to deal with if they don't help us, help them to put some interventions in place. Because ultimately, it's the politicians that will have to make tough decisions about spending, about policy. So they need to be well informed about this issue.
But you were talking about also about this problem, this issue, which is to maybe we shouldn't eat some meat because there's a problem for the human health, and as a human we don't need meat. Do you really believe it?
I do eat meat.
Yeah, like
I'm
many
eating
people.
less of it, I guess. I think
But should we be all vegan or vegetarian? I try to understand. I mean, for the large people on the internet. Or for
I'm not going to stop eating meat myself, and I'm not going to recommend to my children not to stop eating meat. But actually, I think we should all reduce the amount of meat that we eat to try and use, if you like, evidence from the literature, evidence from studies to get the best amount of protein from the best sources without having a negative impact on the environment. So when I was growing up, nobody told me that eating meat was bad. Now we're being told, we're presented with evidence that eating too much meat has really significant health effects. So it's our responsibility to talk to our children and make sure they're presented with the evidence, the best evidence currently available.
So that we need more communication. That is, there's a gap between these academics and the large people. How can we help? Okay, you're talking about communication, but is there other tools that we could use?
Look at what's happened with social media just in the last 6 months. Social media determined the course of the Brexit vote in the UK. Social media determined the course of the US presidential election. Social media is probably going to determine what's going to happen here in France in the elections in 3 weeks' time. It's a very powerful tool. We need to harness the energy to try and use it to the best of its ability and actually reach to young minds that we want to influence positively. So I think we have a responsibility to ensure that communication channels are used effectively and more regularly, because scientists don't really like to communicate with the public. They're not used to it. I think they should do more of that. And BIOVISION gives us a really great platform to be able to do that with the public and with the stakeholders. And that stakeholder engagement is for us a way to begin to put some of those interventions in place.
It's because scientific literature is still very elitistic and not available for everybody.
Absolutely. It's not for everybody to read and digest.
But as you talk about the Brexit, about the election, about Trump election or the French election, you always have some people who are for
Sure.
and some people who are against. In this specific case of climate change, climate migrations, of One Health, which is animal health, which is human health, how can we be sure that we won't have some people for and some people against?
We will always have people for and always have people
Yes,
against.
that's the problem. But yes, but how do you pass your messages?
I think the more we discuss and debate, the more awareness there's going to be of a big problem. And I think right now the problem has been brushed aside and we're not acting. And simply by talking about it, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people telling us climate change, global change is nonsense. Don't waste our time. Industry, let that move forward. Now, we could take that view, but of course we could take the debate and discussion, and that would just bring everything to the public's attention. And the public need to make. We can't change their minds and make their decisions for them, but we can give them the information, and they can make a sound judgment based on the best evidence available.
It is. That's a wonderful message. Thank you, Ali Mobasheri. So you are focusing on research now.
Yes.
It's very interesting. We will catch you in the hashtag of BioVision of this 12th edition of this BioVision.
Thank you for
Thank you.
your
It's
time.
very helpful for this One Health problematic, One Health, One Place that we can see it. Next guest after the jingle.